All right. Who had that I was going to forgive and love Sanji by the end of this arc on their bingo card? Because I know I'm only like a third of the way through, but I got a feeling you're going to be right, so you might as well just check that off. Oh, my darling boy. Okay, he's gone through so much in like 25 chapters. I have read up to chapter 851 of the Whole Cake Island arc. I am having an absolute blast. I am loving this setting. I love sweets so very much. So the fact that we're on an island where everything is edible, and I'm assuming you're not going to get diabetes from eating so much sugar. I love this. I love Big Mom. I'm going to call her Big Mama, I'm sure, at least once or twice throughout this review, so I apologize for that. I am so interested in her as a character, because Big Mom, lots of children. Many, many, many children. But willing to sacrifice them easily, drop a hat of the hat if they displease her or don't do what she says or just gets in her way, or when she's on a rage, but also wants to create a world where everyone lives in harmony, all the different species and all the different races, sorry. And then for some reason is obsessed with giants that I don't know why, but I'm interested in that. Then I have betrayal. I swear, if you're not completely up to 850, but 51 for sure, don't watch this arc or this review, because I have not felt this level of betrayal since Water 7, and I am furious. Oda got me, and oh my god, I did not see it coming for a second. We also have a contender for one of the worst fathers in anime, like just below Shao Tucker. Not too much below, but he is below. This whole section has been a ride, and I love it. So we start with the Sanji on a boat heading to the island. There's some conversations there, but I'm going to want to start talking with Luffy and the crew who are on the way to go save him. And they are starving to death because Luffy has destroyed all their food, and now they're trying to fish. The water is boiling. They're all starving to death because having a cook is very important, and they've lost Sanji, which just goes to show how important he is to the crew. They catch a big fish, but it turns out its skin is poisonous, and Luffy does not wait for Chopper to figure this out, so Luffy just goes ahead and eats it, and he gets poisoned. This should result in instant death, however, because of his tolerance from Impel Down, we know he can hang on a little bit longer, but he is dying, and Chopper doesn't know what to do. They're all freaking out. That's when another boat comes. Oh, tinfoil hat first. Chopper mentions that he's seen the river Styx, like, because he's dying. We have established the river Styx exist in this world, and I firmly want this to happen so bad. Luffy has, like, sacrificed a lot of his life between, what was it, Gear 1 or 2 with the pump, I think that was Gear 1. Put so much strain on the heart and body, was probably sacrificing some of his life. We got with Iva and all the hormones and everything and repelling the poison and healing. And then during Marineford, everything, he has sacrificed years of his life to get where he is right now. So he's already going to die early, but he's probably going to die. Luffy's also not allowed to die. But he's also probably going to end up getting killed taking on someone stronger than him. This is how I want that to play out. I want La to have become so fond of Luffy that he's willing to sacrifice his life and give Luffy immortality to either not resurrect, but save him from dying and give him immortality. And Luffy rejecting that, because there's no way in hell he's going to let his friends die for him. He's going to be the one to protect them, and he's happy with how things has played out. He's content. Luffy is going to die. Brook is going to use some form of power with his resurrection fruit, whatever part of it's still activated, his control over the soul, something. Or Zoro, because her sword and lots of his attacks say demon in it. Someone is going to open up a portal to the underworld. They're going to travel and sail down the river Styx. Nami is going to navigate this because this is going to play into future tinfoil hat theory, but I'm going to mention it now. I want her to be the relative's daughter of some kind of, not quite, maybe mythical, maybe some kind of being, something to do with the ocean, and because she can hear the ocean. This part is thankfully from a comment that someone had said there was a theory, the way Luffy and Roger could hear all the voices, the reason Nami is such a good navigator is there's a theory that she can hear or sense or do something with the ocean. So I thank you for that comment because that helps with this theory. So she is going to help travel down the river Styx and to get to Luffy, his soul, where he will be in the underworld meeting up with Ace, and Ace will say how proud of him he is, and they're going to reunite and hug, and it'll be wonderful. If Roger is not the ultimate big bad villain, he will also be there and give him advice. I still want Roger to be the ultimate big bad villain. However, it's getting very hard for me to stick with that theory when all his crew members are so nice. This has been a little bit of a side tangent. But River Styx has been mentioned in the past, I'm pretty sure, as well. But it was mentioned again here. We've mentioned, like, Davy Jones' locker. We know the underworld's a thing. We know death and souls and resurrections are a thing. I'm going with it's possible, and I want it so very bad. Move back to the story. So Luffy is dying of the poison, and that's when a ship pulls up, and it's the Germa 66. Sanji's brother and sister have shown up. Was it the second brother? I think it was the second brother. I don't really care. I hate all three of his brothers are terrible and they can all die painfully. So the sister's on hold. We so far like the sister. The brother that's up there is just like, nope, I could help you if I want, but why would I do that? I'm just going to let him die. Sister comes over. She has poison control powers and is able to suck the poison out of Luffy. And then they all go their separate ways when they realize they're going to be enemies, and it's better that they just not have conflict right now. So Luffy and the crew get to the island, and that's when we get everything is edible. Luffy gets in so much trouble for eating an entire building, and they're about to be arrested when this glorious angel, who I have so many mixed feelings for now, shows up. Pudding. She's so sweet. I loved her. She covers for them because she's the owner of this building and is just like, I hired them to tear it down because yada yada, it's all fine, don't arrest them. She reveals that she had met Sanji and more or less fallen in love with him, was happy because she's going to be his bride, that he seems like a nice person, and she was very pleased with this arranged marriage, only for him to say he can't marry her, she's beautiful, but he needs to get back to his crew. And she does not want to force a marriage on someone. She doesn't want to take away their free will, so she agreed to help Luffy to get Sanji back and gave him a map to get to this location and island safely where she will meet them on the shore with Sanji. I believed her. Oh my god. Clearly, she has betrayed us, but we will get to that part when that happens. And I believed her so much. Part of my tinfoil hat theory also comes with how she had mentioned that one of her older sisters had ran away to find true love rather than be in an arranged marriage. And it had shown Nami in the panel right next to it, so I had thought, tinfoil hat theory that was immediately disproven in this arc, was what I thought was the sister who ran away was Nami's mother, and she ran away, found love, and had Nami, and then was hunted down by Big Mom and was killed, and that's when Nami was left alone and was adopted by Bellamy and all that there going on. So I had thought Nami was going to be Big Mom's granddaughter, but immediately proven not long later to be wrong, as was actually Lola. We'll get into that when we get there. All right, Lion Turtle Guy, who had been helping them up to this point, ends up going missing with a message on a mirror or something like that saying, "Turn back now." And no one listens. Luffy plows on ahead. They go on their journey. We're going to cut to Sanji right now because I didn't want to jump straight to his family are Nazis just because German in the name pretty much in 66. It could be anything. The imagery is not subtle. So that is a thing. In case we were wondering if anything about his family could be good. No, not at all. Do I want to rant? Yes, I do. I want to rant about his family right now. So, we have Sanji having a nice dinner with his family, and we learn how horrible they are. They were genetically engineered thanks to their father. They're quadruplets, and they're named like Ichi ni san yango, that kind of thing. So Sanji being the third one, he was the third one born. And his other brothers are all very enhanced, and when they were tested as kids, they were extraordinary, while Sanji was just like an average regular human who still has empathy and emotions and liked to cook and stuff like that. And while his mother like encouraged that kind of thing, his father and brothers despised it, was beat him up brutally, called him a failure. And I despise Sanji's father. What is it, Judge or Jude? Judge, something like that. Oh, I hate this man so very much. The way he beat his son and then called him a failure. And he fights with Sanji, and Sanji is getting more or less the upper hand, or at least holding his own. So Judge, I think, calls his like army to act as a human shield to take the hit for him, showing how much he will willingly sacrifice people's lives in order to maintain the upper hand and stay in control, and how beneath him everyone is. And Sanji refuses to just kill an innocent soldier, so Judge gets the upper hand and knocks Sanji out. And then, as if he's not the worst person alive, puts those little manacles that the celestial dragons use as collars that would just kill their slaves because blow off their head, on Sanji's hands, knowing how important his hands are to him as a cook. And Sanji had even said during that battle, like, I'm a leg specialist, my hands are used for cooking, so unless I'm serving you food, I will not be holding a blade or fighting you or punching you or anything like that. Oh my god, I hate this man. I know I've had my issues with Sanji in the past, but Sanji is a Straw Hat. He is loyal to my darling boy Luffy. I love Sanji very, very much. You do not get to insult him in this kind of way on a personal level. In addition to that, he threatens, was it Zeke in the East Blue, the man who is actually Sanji's father and loved and respected him. He threatens him and all his friends on the restaurant, as well as Luffy and the crew, so Sanji has no choice but to go ahead with this wedding. No choice whatsoever. And then we get little moments like his brother saying, "You're a disgrace to the family," and Sanji's response being, "I'm embarrassed to be part of this family. You're my greatest shame," as if to say, you think I care about what you think of me? This is what I think of you. And everyone's saying, like, we're royalty. We do not serve. You can't be serving rat food. And Sanji being like, I'm a chef. That is who I am. We get one of the younger brothers, or maybe his older brother, I think it was the second son, not eating all his food and calling it gross, and Sanji just saying, clear your plate, and the second brother being just like, don't you speak to me like that, you're a failure, how dare you insult me like this, goes to throw out the food and calls the chef over, throws the plate in her face, and Sanji catches it, protecting her, eating the food off the floor and genuinely complimenting her on how good it is. And everyone being appalled, and then Sanji getting beat up again, the chef getting beat up again because Sanji had dared to put her on a pedestal and make her seem more important, so she had to be lowered back down. I hate these brothers. They then go to this room where we learn that the father had been working with Vegapunk before and are cloning humans to make this army that will fight for them. And yeah, I don't want to go into like the similarities with Nazi experiments, so we're not going into that. These are just very bad people. And then we get Sanji, who, after continuing to fail these tests and experiments that his father had been putting him through and shown to just be normal, the father decides to fake his death, put him in a metal mask on his head, tell the siblings and everyone in the kingdom that he had died in a boating accident, and shoved him down in the dungeon where he doesn't have to be seen. His siblings eventually find him, and you would think they would be relieved that their brother was alive. But no, they just continue to beat him and bully him and torture him, more or less. Sister is doing her best not to be like them, so her name being Zero, because got named the firstborn son one, so she was born first, so her name is Zero. She's like, hey, I'm not as bad as them, I'm not participating, but I can't interfere because then they're just going to turn off me, and no one wants that. So she's kind of patching him up, and eventually she breaks him out of his cell, and it's just like, there's a boat going to the East Blue, get on it, run, be free. And if I did not hate the father enough for the manacles on the hands and threatening Sanji's very being and soul and everyone he loves, he catches Sanji about to leave. And rather than I don't know what he could have said. He says the worst possible thing, which is, I couldn't bring myself to kill you because you are my son. So I couldn't bring myself to do that. I could lock you away. But if you want to leave on your own, I'm not going to stop you. You're a failure. I don't see you as my child. I am not your father. Get out and do not use my name, you embarrassment. And Sanji, in tears, this small little child who has done nothing wrong to anybody, takes off, abandoned by all his family, hated all his life, and goes. And then you see how much it means to him when Zeph takes him in and teaches him to cook and protects him and gives his leg for him and teaches him morality, but mostly through no like prompting or anything whatsoever. Zeph says, like, you have to treat a woman right. You can't, like, hit her because dinosaur age, stone age thinking. And it's just like, if you ever did, like, I will beat you within an inch of your life or something like that and kill myself. And Sanji's like, why would you hurt yourself? Because it's something I did. And he's like, because that's a parent's job when their child has gone to the wrong path. He calls Sanji his child, calls himself his father or his parent through no prompting, welcomed him and loved him, while his own family was willing to cast him aside. Of course Sanji would sacrifice everything to protect this man. And I love Sanji's very much. He already had like one of the more interesting backstories. Don't get me wrong, I still hate that he's a pervert, and there's still one example of it in this arc so far that I didn't like that we'll get to later. But my god, his backstory is well done, and I'm very, very, very happy he is getting this arc to shine because it is well needed after the assassination of his character since this time skip. Just cutting in to say that my least favorite Straw Hat is still Straw Hat. They're still written by Oda, they're still wonderful. I've recognized this all this time. But yes, I'm not going to completely jump over the fact that I have despised Sanji's character for a very long time. I don't want to excuse the unforgivable things that he's done. I just will try my very best to not hold it against him now that we are expanding on his character. The pervy stuff is not being used as a joke. I don't want to ignore that it happened, but he did declare his love for Luffy and loyalty to Luffy previously, which I did say that I'm going to give Sanji a fresh slate. And if we're exploring his backstory more and the pervy stuff stops or at least goes down to like before Thriller Bark, I would greatly appreciate that, and I could very much move him up my rankings. But until I get a little tiny bit of consistency, we're going to hold off on how he ranks among all the Straw Hats. I really, 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 really need him to just not be used as the pervy archetype joke kind of thing. All right, back to original filming. All right, jumping probably back in time a little bit. Yeah, so Lion Turtle guy has gone missing. We get a flash of him being shot and thrown into shark-infested waters. He's fine. He's fine. I'm not concerned. We get a cut of Jinbe, who is talking to the other fishmen, saying that he was going to leave the service of Big Mom, and he wants their opinion because it's definitely going to affect them. And they all explain that everything you have done all your life has been for fishmen in general. You left the service of Neptune to go with Fish Tigerfish. And then when Whitebeard was killed, God love him, you turned to Big Mom for protection, all to protect us. You can't do this anymore. We want you to live for yourself. And if you want to go sail with Luffy, and you feel it is a good thing for both yourself and Fishman as a whole, then do it. This is what we want. We want to support you in your decisions. We trust you. And then you have Big Mom's daughter who comes in and speaks with the Aladdin Fishman, and she's just like, hold up, we're betraying Big Mom? You realize she'll kill us all. And they're like, we know you're the daughter. We were going to tell you. We promise. And she's like, no, it's fine. I love you. I'll go with you guys. And I like her design. Two, I like all Big Mom's daughters and children in general. They're all so unique and different looking. And they've all got different powers and skills that I really, really love them. Okay, so Jinbe eventually does, I don't know if he did this before or after this scene. I think it was after. But goes to Big Mom, who is on a rampage, because when she's craving certain sweets, she just goes into like berserk, destroy cities, and is destroying her own city and people, ends up killing her own son in her rage, hunger, whatever, takes away like 30 or 40 years of his life, which results in killing him, because that's her power. She can suck the life out of people, and instead of like taxes, that's like every so many months, every citizen has to give like a month of their life to her, and that's how she's animating everything in the world, in her world and in her kingdom. Like the plants and the trees and all that are alive because she puts human souls in them, or human lifespan. That's terrifying. So Jinbe shows up, gives her the food she wants, she calms down, and then he says that I have a favor to ask. Basically, I want to leave your service. And she's just like, ordinarily, I would kill you for even suggesting that. However, you are Jinbe, so I will give you the respect of opting out in exchange for spins the wheel of torture. And it's originally I thought it was going to be like you lose your limb or head or something depending on what it lands on. But I'm assuming now that I learned more about her life-taking power, it's going to be years given to her in order to leave. Whatever it landed on, because we don't know, Jinbe apparently backed out, as we learned in a newspaper, that he withdrew his request. So we're going to see what happened there eventually. Jaguar Mink, Pedro or something like that, has left with Brook to go search for the poneglyph. And Luffy and Nami and Chopper go onto the shore where they want to meet with Pudding, who is going to bring Sanji there. Luffy sees Sanji and Pudding out on like in the distance, so he's chasing after them, and they go into the forest of seduction, I think it is. And I really love this environment. It got a very big fairy tale vibe to it. Hansel and Gretel, Alice in Wonderland, even like Snow White vibes with a mirror. Like, it's very fairy tale. I love it so very much. And at one point, they run into like a second Luffy, who's like a mirror version of Luffy. So they're like the scars on the wrong eye, and they run into like a big head in the ground. Is his name Pound? Something like that. And they're getting chased by, what was chasing them? I think it was the mirror versions of themselves or something like that. No, that came later. Doesn't matter. They're trying to get out of said forest after trying to chase Sanji, who wasn't actually Sanji, wasn't actually there. They're trying to get away. Mirror version of Luffy turns into a witch-looking girl who is actually one of Big Mom's daughters. The bunny mink is also with them, and she gets trapped in the mirror along with Chopper. Nami has to use her new baton weather weapon to get away from the witch before she scratches up her face. Luffy starts fighting. That's when they got all the copies of themselves. They save the big head guy or pull him out, and it turns out that's Lola's father, which is the sister who ran away to try to find her own love. So it wasn't Nami's mother, which disappointed me, but she could still be the relative of someone else. So I really want to know who Nami's parents are. They defeat the witch lady, but one of like the generals show up. It's a guy who uses biscuits, essentially. His name is Cracker, and Luffy ends up fighting him by eating the biscuits that he is making, like the army of biscuit things. Nami uses her weather powers to soften them up so they can be eaten. Luffy gorges himself. He's like, I can't eat anymore. So we know Luffy can actually become full. And it's kind of a will power. The biscuit guy or Cracker, every time he's making more and more, see when he'll eventually give up making them before, or if Luffy will just be able to stop eating them. He goes into Gear 4 and ends up shooting Cracker all the way across the island, where the other general people are just like, oh crap, you can't do that. Big Mom's gonna be pissed. So she's calling like the weather control ones and a full-on army to come and take on Luffy and Nami. Nami actually takes out the life card that Lola had given her, and it turns out all the like tree animated things are petrified because it has Big Mom's essence in it. And she does not even allow her own children to get a hold of these cards. So I am really wondering how Lola got one. I'm assuming she stole it, thinking that her mother would eventually want her back and would want her to be able to find her. She's very wrong about that. And it is around this point that I started worrying for Pudding, because she had told Sanji and Luffy, that she'd be willing to sacrifice this wedding and not marry Sanji and help him get away and go back with the crew. And because she's the daughter, Big Mom wouldn't hurt her. But we've seen that she's willing to kill her own son. And later on, we learn that she wants Lola dead for running away and breaking up a very profitable political marriage. She doesn't care. She only wants power. So I'm like, Lola, not Lola, Pudding, you don't understand. Your mother would kill you if you go against this. You can't, I don't want you to sacrifice yourself for Sanji. I want you to get away with him. I want you to join the crew. I love you. You're so sweet. You are the one beacon ray of hope in Sanji's miserable existence right now, because Sanji has committed himself to this marriage to save his crew and his family and his friends, as well as the ones in the East. And you're all he has left. Like, she had said, like, I won't let this marriage be held to you. I will be the one good thing. And Sanji proposes, and he's like, if I have to go through hell again, I've had 13 years of freedom. You will be the one good thing in my life. And she has betrayed me. I was worried for her. Brook and Pedro overhear them talking about how they've already knew that the Straw Hats were here, where Luffy is, and the location, everybody, and they're all getting captured. So they know there's like a spy in the mix or something, or some kind of way that Big Mom already knows everything. We got a little bit more on Pedro's backstory, how he had been here in the past and lost years of his life. We get fights going on as they go off for the Ponteglyphs, and I think that happens a little bit later, actually, so we'll get to that. And Brook's awesome fights in a little bit. What else happens in this general time? Oh, we get to Caesar, and Caesar tries to blame everything on Luffy, saying his destroying of Punk Hazard was the reason that he didn't complete Mama's... See, I told you, I keep saying Mama's. Big Mom's want to create something to turn people into giants. Like, he knows it's impossible to do, and they could research for 100 years and never be able to do it. And I really want to know why Big Mom wants to be able to turn her children into giants, other than just to make them more powerful, and they have an army of giants is a terrifying thing to come across. But Big Mom's just like, I have recreated Punk Hazard. You got 2 weeks to get what I want, or else I'm going to kill you. So he's screwed. Sucks be Caesar. Cut to Sanji, who is in the carriage on the way to see Big Mom and Pudding in them, with his siblings and father, and that's when Luffy charges up. He runs in there, is like, I've made it all this way, I got through the forces. Everyone's more or less impressed that he has got through all the checkpoints and the generals and soldiers and everyone of Big Mom's armies. And he's like, hey, I know you left that letter, I know you said you were coming back, but I'm impatient, so come on, let's go home. And Sanji can't do it because he has those cuffs on his wrist. He knows that his friends in the East Blue are going to be threatened and killed by assassins, and he knows the power of Big Mom to destroy Luffy and Nami. And all he can say is pretty much, no, you insufferable pirate. He starts insulting Luffy, whereas previously Luffy had come across, I forget if it was Cracker or Big Mom's son, had said, should you come across Sanji, he's going to call you what was it? You miserable, inferior pirates, get lost. And yeah, tell them to get lost. And Luffy had said, no, he'd never say that to me. He would never speak to me like that. Even if Sanji chose not to come back to my crew, he would not speak to me like that. So when Sanji repeats the words back to him, saying, what do you think would make me happier? Sailing the seas, being your cook, or living a life of luxury with servants and getting married to a beautiful woman and being associated with one of the most powerful pirates in the world? Like, you don't have the strength to be Pirate King. Luffy knows something is up. He knows something is wrong. This is not Sanji. And we know it. And so Sanji has to fight Luffy in order to get him to leave, and Luffy's having none of it. He takes every hit. He's been fighting the Cracker guy for 11 straight hours. He's exhausted. He's brutalized. He's got nothing left. Sanji hits him with everything he's got, square in the face, knocks him almost unconscious, and gets back in the carriage to go away, telling Luffy and Nami just to leave. Nami slaps him. And Luffy gets up and is just like, no, I refuse to believe this. I am not going to move from this spot until you return. I'm not going to eat anything because I refuse to eat anything that you do not make for me. You are my cook. because it seems like Luffy would have let him leave if that was actually what Sanji wanted, just based on the conversation with the brother, the son. But he knows this isn't Sanji. He knows Sanji would not speak to him this way. He knows something is up. I love Luffy so very much. So stubborn as he is, he plants himself there, knowing an oncoming army is about to come after him, and they are overwhelmed by Big Mom's forces. And Luffy still refuses to leave. He turns his head away from the falling syrup, like, nope, I'm not going to eat it. The only thing I will eat is the food that Sanji makes from me. He digs his hands into the ground when they try to take him away, and refuses to leave. Nami had said previously, like, we have to run. We can't fight this army that's coming after us. And Luffy is just like, if I leave, Sanji might come back and he won't know where to find me. No. But eventually they are overwhelmed and taken to a dungeon cage in Big Mom's library. Side note, there's a devil fruit that involves books that I'll probably get more into in the next arc, because I assume we might explore it a bit more. But yeah, it also involves Big Mom trapping species into stories, keeping them essentially immortal. And okay, there's a book fruit. I'm going to love that so very much. So Sanji specifically speaks with Big Mom, asks her to forgive everything that has happened, and it's a lot of insults towards her, if he does not run away and just goes through with this wedding, and she agrees. It's like, yes, I will forgive all your crew, I will let them leave in peace, so long as you marry my daughter. So Sanji is fine with this. He's happy that his friends will be safe, and Pudding seems like a wonderful angel, because he is also fooled and in love. Big Mom goes to the prison to talk with Luffy and Nami. That's where she's like, where did you get this life card? How did Lola get it? Or did she actually think she'd be welcome back? I should kill her because I would have the power to be Pirate King right now if she had went through with this political marriage. Luffy calls Big Mom down to the dirt, saying, you do not have the strength to be Pirate King. That's not on your daughter. Like, that's on you. I'm going to be Pirate King. And then Pudding shows up and talks to them in the cell, and it results in Luffy trying to rip his own arms off to get away to get to Sanji. Because, God, Oda, how could you do this to me? Sanji cooks Pudding a glorious, lovely meal, lots and lots of food, gets her a bouquet of roses, and goes to her room. The door does not let her in, because of course the door is alive. It says that Pudding is indisposed, can't come to the door. So Sanji leaves and says, I'll go in through the back or through a window or balcony, whatever. We're about to be married. So clearly it's okay. Even if she's like changing or indisposed, whatever, it's fine. We're about to be married. This man needs to learn consent. He knows nothing about consent. But in this case, we're going to have to let it slide because we're getting a villainous monologue, which is a little bit unnecessary. I do hate a villainous monologue. For some reason, Pudding has chosen to shoot Sanji's sister, who is the one good, not terrible person in his family, and take her back to her room where she reveals the truth that she is playing them for a fool and intends to kill Sanji on their wedding day and take over the forces of the Vinsmoke family, because their kingdom is essentially a bunch of ships that are all now here in Big Mom's island. And they just want their technology and military strength. So they don't really need them. They've developed bullets that can actually shoot and kill them. And she is just laughing about how she easily fooled Luffy, the Straw Hats, Sanji, and calling everyone pathetic. And I was pissed. I did not see it coming. I really, truly, truly thought that she was just a sweet, innocent girl that thought her mother loved her and would have just arranged another marriage for her eventually if Sanji had been let go. And when Sanji said, you know what, I am going to stay, I'm going to marry you, it's for the best, she was just going to be happy with him. And I figured they would run away together and join the crew and actually fall in love and it'd be sweet and cute. No. I have not felt this betrayed since Water 7. We get the fight between Brook, or confrontation talk between Brook and Big Mom as he's trying to steal the poneglyph. rubbing, and we see his soul fighting thing where all the like souls are leaving the bodies of people around him, and it's really cool. I love his fight scenes. I can't even describe it. You can only appreciate it from the actual image on the manga panel. I really want to see more explored with him and his fights. And Big Mom's like, you came all this way to steal the poneglyphs, and Brook's just like, I know Sanji, I know his compassion in his heart and him being a good person, and he's not going to leave by anything I say. But I also know how stubborn my captain is. So the fight for whether or not Sanji leaves with us is going to be between those two. What I'm doing is I'm just going to make it so that in the worst possible case scenario where Sanji chooses to stay, he doesn't feel bad that we came all this way for nothing. We're going to have a copy of the poneglyph. And Big Mom is just like, you think that Sanji not returning to you is the worst case scenario? Everyone could die. And Brook's just like, why would I plan for everybody to die? That's a terrible plan. And I really love Brook because the faith he has in his crew and the trust in them and knowing their character, I really like his moments. And then the final scenes are Luffy and Nami in the prison. Luffy has twirled himself up, trying to rip his arms out of the cells to get away. Nami is just like, you have to stop this. Nami is about to be tortured for the location of Lola. And that is when the sweet darling boy, that is Jinbe, comes in, saves the day, and takes out the guard and rescues them. Everything is going to be wonderful because they're now together. They're going to fight Big Mom. They're going to save Sanji, who is currently crying in the rain because all the heartbreak, the one little ray of light that he had, that he thought he had to look forward to, has been crushed and he's been betrayed. Everything is going to be fine. They're going to go to the wedding. Big Mom wants to open that box from Fishman Island with the bomb in it. So I'm very excited to see what happens next. Yes, this arc has made me reunited my love that I have for Sanji. I just really, really, really need him to stop being so perverted going forward. I have forgiven past events when he declared his loyalty for Luffy again. I just need him to not revert back to like Thriller Bark and Fishman Island Sanji. Pretty please. Thank you. All right. So that is what I got for this first 25-ish chapters. I love this arc so very much. And I will talk to you later.